Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
And I'm joined by somebody who you can tell right away that by the shirt he's wearing.
It's got a little bit of green in it, somewhat. Sort of.
It's an ugly shirt, but
it is an ugly shirt.
It really does look good on you.
That's right.
But the bottom line is
Judge
this.
Smells and The Rock would both appreciate it.
But the bottom line is this. If you want to know why you shouldn't gamble, look at that shirt. Because that right now, that's all he can afford. A message from this station and the Ad Council.
Nothing beat years ago when you first break into radio. Obviously, you're running the board. Yeah, you're paying your dues, and you used to try to cover up the PSAs with the local breaks. There'd be obviously a national break, and there'd be a local break, and be the PSA.
You know what? I never ran the board once in my life.
I ran them, but you would. There's certain networks would not have. They'd go silent on a break. Others would cover it with a PSA. Right. And if you turn that up even a split second too soon, you'd get the Ad Council every time.
I'm working with a guy who has North Carolina in the Final Four.
Oh, it's amazing why the chairman works as North Carolina grad and they get in. I can't believe it.
Can I for a moment, I'll start there if nobody minds. Hey, I know you're kidding about it, but for the average fan, don't fall for because Bubba Cunningham is okay. He has okay. If you notice, the media is zero critical of him being the chair.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
There's a reason for that. Every February, late January, usually into February, they bring the media in to Indianapolis and do a mock selection. So they see how the entire process works, including the chair or a committee member excluding themselves and out of the room completely when their school is being discussed. Because he's not the only one,
right? Of course,
on that selection committee that has schools that are in, out, whatever. So they all have to leave when it's discussed, and they have no influence over what's going on. So I don't want his integrity to be called into play.
Absolutely not.
Because it's the way the process is set up, and that's why the media has been. You notice nobody in the media said it because they know from all the times they've gone through the mock selection process how it works, and that he has no influence over what's going on with it. Now, as for North Carolina, they shouldn't be in.
No, there's no question.
Okay. The committee sent with North Carolina and Texas two potentially bad precedents, which would be rectified, and they're going to do this. They're going to go to 76. Mm-hmm. And you see how the NITs played out?
Yeah.
They can't afford to have that. Because, everybody, how many Big Ten teams are in the NIT? How about none?
None.
Because they all said no.
Yep. Okay,
Ohio State, Indiana, Northwestern, Penn State all said no. And believe me, Penn State was asked. Mm-hmm. All right? Here's the precedents they set. Do you reward a team that equals the most losses for an at-large team because they had a few good wins? Texas, including Texas A&M in the SEC tournament.
SEC tournament, yeah.
But do you reward a team that has a few good wins, but they've got losses in buckets? They have, 14, 15 losses?
Yeah.
I think they have 15, right?
I think it's 15.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, they have as many losses as Penn State did.
Yeah.
Okay? Now let's flip it over to North Carolina. Do you reward a team, which they did, that played a really tough non-conference schedule and couldn't beat anybody on it?
Yeah, 1-14.
1-12,
Or
I think.
1-12.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as if North Carolina didn't have ample opportunities to win games against the potential field. That's what quad ones are. They had 13 shots at it.
Yeah.
And they won one.
One. Yeah.
So that's the issue that you have here with this. Where a West Virginia, for example, goes out and they beat Gonzaga, they beat Arizona, they beat Kansas. They had one other significant non-conference win as well out in Maui. They beat Gonzaga out in Maui. They also won one other game out there too. And what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
I mean, they have significant wins. And by the way, the Big 12 is probably a better conference than the ACC right now. Don't get all the smoke and mirrors of Duke. That's right. Duke is one team out of 18 in the conference.
Yeah.
Right? Louisville's really good. And I was surprised Louisville got an 8. I thought they would be probably a 6 or a 7, but they got an 8. When I saw North Carolina's name up on the board, I knew Indiana was cooked. When I saw Xavier's name on the board, I absolutely knew Indiana was cooked. Do I care whether Indiana gets in or not? Not really. I care for Don Fisher.
Sure.
Other people, no.
You look at West.
Mike Woodson, absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely no. Overrated as a coach.
Oh,
absolutely
mercy,
overrated as a coach.
Brutal.
And I say that in both leagues. He was overrated in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
West Virginia's also got a win over Iowa State.
Well, I mentioned that.
Yeah, beat Kansas.
Yeah, mentioned that.
So it's literally...
Well, in Maui, though, they beat Gonzaga, right? And they beat somebody else, too.
They beat Gonzaga. And...
They beat Arizona. They beat Iowa State. They beat Kansas. So, look, those are all...
Colorado in January.
Yeah, Colorado's...
Which was, at that time, not terrible.
Yeah, that one's all right.
Yeah, still, they're competitive in the games. Yeah, obviously we're blown out against Texas Tech, but other than that, they were competitive against ranked teams.
But the competitive thing is going to be, look how North Carolina came back against Duke. Well, number one, Duke has 40% of its starting lineup sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Texas also. You mentioned Texas. They're what 6-12 in their conference too. That's the other part of it.
Indiana was 10-10 in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Now, do I think Indiana's a good team? I think they're good. Yeah. They're good, but that's all they are is good. They're not great.
Right.
Do I think Texas is good? Yes. Do I think they're great? No.
Nope.
Okay, I don't. Because last year I had really no qualms with what they did in the tournament. None, really. This year I'm like, now the state of the NIT is as follows. No Big Ten teams accepted to go. There were only 2 SEC options. Neither one's going.
Neither one's going, yep. 14 are in the tournament.
All right. Georgia Tech is from the ACC. Oklahoma State, which is under 500, is from the Big 12.
Big 12, yep.
And that's it, to my knowledge. So now you've got a problem with the NIT. And you've now developed, especially in the world of the transfer portal, because the portal opens up next Monday and runs through the 22nd. You've now developed a culture, especially with a lot of older players playing, where, if it's not the NCAA's, I don't want to go. There's a big difference between taking a team to the Gator Bowl and taking a team to the NIT. And the big difference is as follows. You have 100 and you'll have 105. But you've in the past had 120 players, and if you had 8 or 9 say they're not going to play, and most likely some of your better players are opting for the draft.
Sure.
Okay. You still have 111 to choose from. But in basketball, if you have 5 seniors that opt to not play, well, now you're down to, including a walk-on like Penn State, would be down to 9.
Yep.
And you don't have Puff Johnson. Well, he'd be one of the seniors. You don't have Eli Rice. Now you're down to 8. And the transfer portal opens up next Monday. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? And you can't, to me, yeah, and now, if you notice, now the Crown, they always said in the Crown they were not going to announce yesterday. Crown said it would be sometime this week because they have time. The thing doesn't begin till March 31st, but it also begins 1 week after the transfer portal opens. So, I don't know. You've got to. That's why I think you will see. That's a primary reason why I think you'll see them expand to 76. Okay? Money will be, of course, the primary reason. I know you're shocked by that.
No. Yeah, I can't imagine money would play a role.
Look how much money you've blown on Metallica over the years. You can admit it.
Yeah,
they play the same songs every time.
They do. Well, not even now. They play back to back, so they don't even play the same songs. They play the same songs on 2 shows instead of just 1.
Oh, brutal! Brutal. You adore these people. I don't know how you exist. You really are a case study. I got to give you credit.
That's right.
So, so I think that's going to be actually a driver behind this, because now you have an all or nothing mentality. Oh, there's one other ACC team that's in. SMU's a 1.
SMU's in it, yeah.
Yeah, Georgia Tech and SMU, they have 2 of them in. But now you've got an all or nothing mentality, and like the NIT has no juice in it at all. Do I think San Francisco as a 1 seed is a good team? Yeah, I saw them play twice in person this year, and I was really impressed by a lot of things Chris Gerlofson's team does. Right? They actually were the 1 team in the regular season to beat St. Mary's. But it's that's the issue that you have right now in college basketball. I think that this year is the year that tells everybody you're either all in or you have to have a young team. For example, if Penn State's a young team, a younger team, even last year, that team would have gone to the NIT last year if they received a bid. They would have gone. This year with more seniors, no. It becomes an issue, and it became an issue for other teams too. And you're also beat up at this time of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gilbert's not going to play for Iowa State in the tournament. He's out for the year. And then there's the Cooper Flagg situation. Now, the Cooper Flagg situation, I laughed when I saw he'll be available for the tournament. They didn't say which game he was going to be available.
That's true.
He's available for the tournament.
I'm pretty sure they might push Duke a game or two, a day back each week. Yeah.
No.
Friday. They play Thursday?
They play Friday.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
But that's because in a pod. Well, no, but they're in a pod.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, the pod's in Raleigh.
That's true.
The reason that they have put these pods together and they went to this system is to get more fans to go. That's the reason why pods exist now. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, Penn State played Texas A&M in Des Moines.
Yep.
Right, but I'd like to point out Kansas was there, and they brought their fans in droves.
Sure.
You know, let's see, Arkansas was there, Texas was there, Colgate, Penn State, Howard, right? But Kansas was the primary draw. That's why that pod was there, because of Kansas. Then Arkansas beat them. When Penn State was out in Tucson, San Diego State was there, and man, they traveled fans. And Northern Colorado was there, and so forth. I mean, Penn State and Temple. I mean, that didn't make sense, but that's why they put pods together, trying to get as many regionalized. For example, Louisville's playing in Lexington, and by the way, they're going to play Auburn. And I want to make one quick note about Auburn. It is a grind. And you know what? They lost 3 of their last 4 games. I don't think people realize they've lost 3 of their last 4 games.
Yep.
That's not exactly, I mean, heading into Louisville in round 2, because they'll get through round 1. I hope it's St. Francis they're playing.
Absolutely. Stayed high grad as a coach.
Oh, no, I talked to Rob last week. Brought your name up. Should have seen the look on his face.
Shook his head and said, oh, boy. How did they put up with this guy that long?
What are you doing? He says, he's still going that Metallica garbage? I said, yeah. So he even buys merchandise.
I've toned down that one.
Why?
Inflation.
Inflation?
Well, the posters are insanely popular. You got to line up. They do a poster that's numbered to each show, and you've got to line up pretty much 8-9 hours beforehand if you want to get one of those. I've got enough of those over the years. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
No way am I doing that.
So, and the other part, too, is like when it comes time to vote on a team being in or out, Bubba Cunningham was not allowed to vote.
Right. Yeah.
Just so people know.
Absolutely.
The contingency vote for the last team in the field, it was based on Memphis and UAB. If Memphis won the game, then it was going to free up a spot in the tournament, and it was going to be North Carolina. If UAB had won the game, then Memphis was going to be the team in the tournament. Okay? And North Carolina would have been the first team out. Memphis won. North Carolina made the tournament. But that doesn't still justify whether they should be in or not. Now, do I think... Okay, let's start with a couple things. Let's draw upon the experience of 2 years ago. Penn State played Texas in round 2 on a Saturday night on CBS. So here are the 3 factors you have involved, whether it's football or not, and football is a prime driver in that. But the brand names you had were March Madness, Texas on the front of the jersey, Penn State on the front of the jersey. We're talking about 3 powerful brands. I didn't say 3 powerful, basketball brands. I'm talking about the front of the jersey said Penn State.
Brands, period.
The front of the jersey said Texas. So you're talking about 2 of the top 15 brands, probably 2 of the top 10 brands in all of college sports because of the football side of it. They got 6.6 million viewers. Now, if UAB is playing West Virginia, okay, all due respect, West Virginia is playing UAB. Do they get 6.6 million viewers? I highly doubt it. I mean, this is a guessing game, but I highly doubt it. Now, what's the rating going to be like on, I think it's going to be True TV, right?
Yeah.
What's the rating going to be like tomorrow night when North Carolina plays San Diego State? It's going to be one of the highest True TV ratings they've had for the first four. Why? Because of the brand name. And I know that they're supposed to look at analytics, and yes, North Carolina was 36 in the net, right? So I do understand that part of it. But the tournament does need some star power. And I'm using Penn State, Texas again. Okay, Penn State as a basketball brand, okay, is not in the same realm as Penn State, the football brand. Right. But because of the football brand, the name Penn State is drawing people to the table. The Texas basketball brand is nowhere near in the same realm as the Texas football brand. But at the front of the jersey said Texas. And you've got March Madness, second round, berth in the Sweet 16 coming up, prime time. You got 6.6 million people watching for a second round game. This wasn't a Sweet 16 game, wasn't an Elite 8 game, it wasn't a Final Four game. You got 6.6 million people watching it because you had three brands combined, including, above all, of course, the March Madness brand. Do you have that same audience on CBS if it's UAB against West Virginia? I didn't say the basketball was, I'm not talking about the quality of basketball. I'm asking that question.
Yeah, same name. No, same brand. No. Not a chance.
You have the same rating tomorrow night if UAB is in, or West Virginia, let's say West Virginia. West Virginia is in playing San Diego State. Okay? Now, the crowd will be great because West Virginia will travel fans over to Dayton, all right? But the crowd's going to be great no matter what because the two college basketball brands, in my experience, when I've been around them, travel better than anybody else I've ever seen are Kentucky, number one, no question, and two, North Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely in Kentucky.
Yeah. Right? But they'll travel anywhere to see them.
Uh-huh.
And
I think that.
I mean, again, do I think again, when you have 13 shots at a quad one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I give you credit. You scheduled a difficult non-conference schedule.
Absolutely.
They gave you 13 shots. You gave yourself 13 shots.
Mm-hmm.
You gave yourself 13 shots. You won one. Okay? You're not good enough. Now, it's irrelevant. They're in. Hubert Davis doesn't have to worry about that. They're in. R.J. Davis doesn't have to worry about they're in. They just have to worry about beating San Diego State tomorrow night in the 11 seed game. Okay. And you go from there. Texas, like you're watching, like they played great and they beat Texas A&M. Was it double overtime? I think it was a double overtime game.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a great win. They got it out. It's exactly what they needed. The question was it enough? You're talking about a team that lost 15 games during the regular season. They won 6 conference games. So then, would they win 2 in the SEC tournament? They won their opening game, and then they beat Texas A&M, correct?
Right.
So you win 2, and Texas A&M had the double bye or something like that, right? Yeah, and I always talk about how vulnerable the double bye teams are because the other team you're facing has momentum. And they won. Well, talk about the right place, right time. They won. But you're talking about a 19-15 team. Like, okay. So because they're in a tough conference, but they only won, so they would have played, 21 games? So they're 8-13 in those games. I don't know. Now, the NIT situation is the one to me that gets you to 76.
Sure.
All right? Because there are schools saying no to the NIT. And that's... let's take, for example, if I'm running Fox and the Crown, I don't do a postseason tournament. I make that a preseason tournament. But starting in all likelihood next year, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this, because you may see the rule changed going from 28 regular season games to 31. Like, well, oh no, I play 31 now. No, you're allowed to play 28 regular season games. Okay? But then you're allowed to be in these, quote, exempt tournaments. Not everybody plays an exempt tournament. Everybody does, except, the Ivy League doesn't. Right. You notice what the Ivy League records are. They're a little bit different because, it doesn't add up to 30 games. That's right. You're right, it doesn't. Okay? And that's the deal. And if you're allowed to schedule 1 through 31, now instead of playing in the Battle for Atlantis or playing in Maui or something, you may just schedule 1 through 30, your non-con, if you're in the Big Ten, 11 non-conference games. Okay? Instead of trying to work around, get into a tournament, because to be honest with you, you may play, you'll play in some of these places, okay. There are certain places I've gone to where it's you play in the Barclays Center. Well, great place. Okay. Milwaukee, play where the Bucks play. Great place. Okay. But then if you play in Cancun, they put you in a ballroom with football bleachers on each side, and it's a temporary setup. Okay, you're in Cancun, which is cool. You're right on the Gulf of America, which is cool. Right? And that part's cool. It's also 84 degrees. Really nice. Okay. But it's also Thanksgiving week. Would you rather be playing home instead of there? Daytona Beach, the arena they played in Daytona Beach, the convention center, I say this with all due respect. First of all, you are on the ocean.
Sure.
All right? You're on the Atlantic. The hotel is very nice, right? But the arena is But one of the reasons they wanted to play is they wanted to play Clemson. Well, they got Clemson. Clemson did win the game by 6. But that was one of the reasons they scheduled it. Do you schedule instead 1 through 11 to get you to 31 and bypass the tournament? And who's going to do that?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because I think you look at the beginning of the year, I think one of the great tournaments that was created.
It's Great Alaska Shootout.
Yeah, Great Alaska Shootout, number 1. And the other one is, it's only been around for about, I think, 2012, 2011, first year of the Champions Classic. I think you have...
Yeah, but the Champions Classic, you play one game.
Play one game, yeah.
See, that's a game.
Yeah, it's a game. Yep.
All right, as opposed to playing Maui, where you got 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Alaska Shootout.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
so you
Alaska
probably could
Shootout
still-
doesn't
yeah.
exist
No,
anymore.
No.
You know,
But-
Maui, you play 3.
Yeah.
Cancun, I remember they just played 2. Daytona played 2.
Yeah.
They've had a couple of tournaments. I remember in Milwaukee, Penn State played a 3. And it's 3 straight days. Well, the only other time you play 3 straight days is in the tournament in March. So your muscle memory is not going to be the same between November and March. I'm playing 3 straight. So I think there's going to be some thought as to what to do with that, because the scheduling part is going to change if that's the way it turns. And because I can tell you right now, Penn State's not scheduled in a tournament at this moment for next year, because I think they're waiting to see what they want to do about the 31, which I think is going to be the lean. I think that's the way it's going to turn out. So tomorrow night, by the way, St. Francis North against Alabama State. That's the first game of the entire tournament at 6:40. Obviously, all due respect to the fine people at Alabama State. I think the people in State College are rooting for Rob Krimmel.
Absolutely.
Right. North Carolina, San Diego State's at 9:10. Now, that's going to get a good rating. Right? You're talking about it's going to be 6:10 on the West Coast. Got to subtract 3 hours.
That's
Jason,
right.
Just so you know.
Yep. 3 hours. Yep.
Do you ever leave the Eastern time zone?
Have I ever left it? Yes. Do I do it often? No.
Are you sure you left it?
I will say, Fiesta Bowl, I almost thought it was a 3-hour time difference.
Oh, no, it's 2. It's my
It was
time.
2. Yep. Yeah, that was the one where I almost screwed it up. I was like, oh, yeah, it is only 2 now. Because certain parts of Arizona. Yep. So I will say I almost screwed that one up.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday, Mount St. Mary's against American at 6:40. That actually should be a pretty good game.
I think so.
And then Xavier, Texas
Yeah.
will be the second game on Wednesday. So that's your first 4. But that's, I think what's going on with the lack of enthusiasm because of the way the schedule is. And the other part is, like, the Crown. I think it's safe to say the Crown, which we don't know what the field is for the Crown.
Right.
In some ways, they've gutted the NIT. Because you're supposed to have, 2 Big Tens, 2 Big 12s, 2 Big Easts. And only 4 power conference schools are in the NIT this year. And 3 of them are from the ACC, and the other one is Oklahoma State from the Big 12. Last year, the NIT field had 18 power schools in it. See, this is why this is going to be the issue moving forward. That's why I think you're going to see a push towards 76. Now, what did 76 do? Does that mean North Carolina's no problem, Indiana's no problem, probably Ohio State? Yeah. But it does open the door, for example, for Boise State. Oh, okay, that's a smaller school. It opens the door for UAB. Oh, okay. Because they would have made it.
Right.
It opens the door for West Virginia as a power school. Right. But it would have opened the door for other people. By the way, happy for Scott Sidwell, the athletic director at Colorado State, that his team got in. But you have 4 power schools that got in to the NIT, that accepted it. The number of Big Ten schools that said no, we're not going to go. Indiana, Ohio State, Northwestern, Penn State. And don't laugh, Penn State will do, at 16 and 15, Penn State, they wanted them. Okay. Now, who's going to play in the Crown? Not sure. They haven't said yet.
Not sure who'll be on the teams that play in the Crown either.
Well, no, I know.
That's another part of it.
So, number one seeds going in. Auburn struggling. They've lost 3 of 4.
Yeah.
The problem with Houston is not enough offense.
Consistency.
Their defense is consistently excellent.
Yep.
But you get yourself into a real gray area with Houston. Duke, if Flag is back, I don't know what Brown's status is going to be. That didn't look good. But I'd be guessing. But Duke is a well-rounded team and an excellent defensive team. The Florida team, of all the teams at the top, I've seen people play multiple times this year. The SEC tournament was the first time that's the one team I hadn't seen a lot of, was Florida. They're deep. They are deep. And they play at a great pace. They're a pretty good defensive team, and they've got depth. They can foul you out. I was very impressed by what I saw because I hadn't really seen them play. Now, Todd Golden is going to have to go through a little bit of a grinder on this, okay? Because, as you know, at the beginning of the year, there was the Title IX investigation into him. Right? While the Title IX part has been dropped, there's still a lot of allegations circling around him, and he's going to be asked about it. He's going to have to be asked about it. Simple as that. So we'll see how. Man, that's for him to handle. There's also one other assistant on that staff who will not be available to the media, but that's also been talked about. St. John's is a team that is not great shooting the three, but they play great defense. And offensively, R.J. Lewis, who played against Penn State when he was at UMass, right, has developed into a really terrific scorer. I liked him at UMass. This guy's pretty good, right? I could see why. And he's 18 points a game now. The transfer from Kansas, who barely played. And, love him or hate him, Pitino's a heck of a coach.
Sure.
He's a great coach. They're dangerous.
Yeah. They're
a dangerous team. If you're filling out your brackets in the opening round, if you take 12 teams, the 4-1 seeds, the 4-2 seeds, and the 4-3 seeds, and put them through the second round, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be right. I'm just talking about tournament history here. Just thought I'd pass that along.
Yeah.
If you want to, I don't know, I think a 14 can beat a 3. Sometimes they do, but not as often as you think.
Yeah.
Not as often as you think. And I'd say this, the 2 seeds are as deep a group of 2 seeds as I've seen. And that's what... that's just something just to pass along. But of the 1 seeds, Auburn's the one that's lost 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
Okay. And to be honest with you, they didn't look good against Tennessee the other day. They didn't look good.
No, I had to really battle against Alabama to come back only lose anyway. But they've been definitely.
Well, and then there's the Big Ten championship game, which set the sport back. 12 out of 73 in threes.
Yeah.
12 out of 73 in threes. Right? I'm watching that game, and if I hear one more time while they're tired, well, excuse me, it depends on who you are. I watched Penn State play 4 games in 4 days 2 years ago. And guess what? Penn State's coming from behind late in the game on a team that had allegedly no legs, and then came back on Thursday and beat Texas A&M.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
12 out of 73. That's why I thought the best player on the floor, I know Donaldson finally hit the game. And Donaldson did that against Penn State. Okay. He was the one guy Penn State had trouble with in that game. Danny Wolf, no issue. I mean, Danny Wolf, I'll be honest with you, against Penn State played a lousy game. But Donaldson hits the shot at the end. The guy on the floor that understood what was going on was the sophomore John Blackwell for Wisconsin. Like, this three-point thing isn't working. I'll drive it to the bucket. I'll drive it to the bucket. I'll drive it to the bucket. Look, I think Dusty May's a really good coach, but my God, I'm watching this game for the you've got Vlad Golden. You can't hit a three right now. Nobody can hit a three. Why don't you run some sets inside? Okay? I don't have a substandard post player there. I've got a really good post player that I trust. Like, what are we doing out here? That game was dreadful to watch.
Painful.
It was dreadful.
Yeah.
But it's also an example of what I've told my broadcasting class before. Like, when you get 5 minutes to go in a game like that, at this point, it doesn't matter how dreadful it's been for the first 35 minutes. Now it's about winning and losing. What's the margin? Is +2, +1, -3, -1? All right. Winning and losing comes into play. So the last 5 minutes has some drama to it, without question. But you watch that game, like, that game was brutal to watch, and I watched all of it. I'm like going, I just kept watching thinking, why doesn't anybody change tactics here? Like, they'll come down the floor, they'll fire up a three. Like, what are you doing? You don't. You're open right now for a reason. And Blackwell, to his credit, like, okay, he started driving to the bucket. I said, well, there's one guy that understands what the deal is. Ironically, it was the Donaldson three that put him in front. Like, I think everybody was in shock somebody hit one. But there you go. On the Varsity podcast with Puck's John Orand over the weekend, it was Silberwasser from TNT supported expansion, but wants the NCAA to be thoughtful rather than chasing money or attention at the detriment of quality. Okay, now he wants to be thoughtful about chasing money. Okay, he wants them to be thoughtful about chasing money because it's going to be his money. That's going to be
his money. Exactly.
Over here in the back, I understand where you're coming from, right? It's something that's in their court right now and trying to figure out what does expansion really mean in terms of the number of extra teams, extra games. When would those games happen? How are they selected? And what are the economics behind expansion? What are the interests of the NCAA, but also the conferences that make up the NCAA? I think there's a lot of details to be worked out, but in principle, we support expansion. Okay. Now, the possibility could be that you have a second first four site. So you call it the first, right? First 8.
Yeah.
Because you'd have 4 more games, right? And you know how the games start at noon? Well, who's to say you don't play the first 8 at 2 sites starting at noon on Tuesday and starting at noon on Wednesday?
Sure.
You know, who's to say you can't do that? That gets you to 76. Now, does that alleviate the arguments? No. But, you know, because the fight is going to be 77 through 84 as to saying they should have gotten in. That I completely understand. But when you've got an issue with the NIT right now about who's going in the Power 5 teams, or because Power 5 includes the Big East in basketball. You do have to look at the expansion of the NCAA tournament, because now you've got teams, because the NCAA runs the NIT, and they're not getting, and we only have 4 Power 4 teams in, and one of them's under 500. That's Oklahoma State, by the way. You have to be thoughtful when expansion, maybe either too much or just doing it for the sake of expanding and monetary reasons. Again, your side's the one paying. Now, CBS and TNT, of course, are the partners in all this, which is about $1 billion a year. But I don't think people realize, like, who pays the lion's share of it. Who do you think pays the lion's share of it? CBS, TNT.
CBS, TNT. It's probably TNT.
TNT pays 70% of it. They pay 70% of that $1 billion a year. So if I am the NCAA and I want to expand, I give CBS and TNT the right of first refusal on the 4 extra games. If they aren't, and they say, well, I don't know, we can't come to an agreement. Who's to say they're not allowed to go to Amazon Prime?
Sure.
I mean, you don't think that, you don't think, Netflix or Amazon Prime wouldn't want to get a slice of the NCAA tournament?
Absolutely.
I mean, they can get the money.
Yeah, and the NCAA's argument, obviously, well, first of all, it's about the money. They're going to get the money one way or another.
Oh, that's again, it's not about the kids.
Not about the kids.
I mean, the kids? I mean, really?
It's all about the kids. Never about the money. All about the kids. But the advantage, obviously, the tournament's going to have, you have that streaming aspect with having Paramount, which is going to help it. But, yeah, absolutely. Not about the money. Never been about the money.
Yeah.
All about the kids.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So, there are 172 bracketologists. Actually, no, there are 111 bracketologists. 111 of them. West Virginia was in the field on all 111 of them. And 111 recognized bracketologists released their final NCAA tournament fields to the Bracket Matrix Project ahead of the selection show. All 111 had West Virginia in. How many had North Carolina in?
Oh, there's got to be a couple.
27.
I was going to say, there's no way none of them did.
So Matt Schick, and I've been on Matt's show many times, because Matt and Anthony Herron do the morning show on Big Ten Radio.
Big Ten Radio, yep.
Okay. Matt Schick, on the latest bracket matrix, which featured 111 bracketologists, North Carolina was in on 27 of them. They made the field. Xavier was in on 30 of them. Xavier made the field. Texas was in on 50 of them. Texas made the field. West Virginia was in on 90 of them. Indiana was in on 90 of them. Did not make the field. And West Virginia was in on all 111 and did not make the field. How about that?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying the bracketologists are the be-all, end-all, but you know what I think of Mike DeCourcy. Think
sure.
the world of Mike. I think the world of Joe Lunardi.
Joe Lunardi, absolutely.
Okay. And one of the issues that is going to have, okay, is going to be brand names. I still I think the brand name in North Carolina carried the day. I think they feel like they need some juice in this thing. And that's unfair to West Virginia. Jay Williams said yesterday on the ESPN bracket show, and I don't know how North Carolina made the tournament, West Virginia didn't. Jay Billis says, I'm not as worked up about the end of the line this year. We spend too much time talking about the 30th best team in the country or the 35th best team in the country. Jay Billis is wrong about that.
I agree.
And the reason he's wrong about it is you want to walk in the room and tell West Virginia we spend too much time talking about that end of the tournament. You're trying to get in. I mean, it means everything.
Sure.
To get in, right? As somebody who has broadcast a program for 43 seasons and has been there 5 times, 5. Okay? What, 1,283 games. I broadcast 9 NCAA tournament games. All right? I want to be one of those teams that are being argued about at the end. All right? And because it's important to that team that you get in. The fact that he dismissed it, I was like, Jay, that's okay.
Yeah.
You played at Duke.
I was going to say, played at Duke. That's
right.
a big reason why.
Okay. You were an assistant coach at Duke.
Yep.
You're not in this position.
Right.
You don't know how these people feel.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that makes a big difference. I'll give you a conversation I had with Will Tiemann 2 years ago. And Will does the Michigan State games. And was it 27 years in a row now they've been in?
Yep, 27 straight. Yep.
And it was I think they played here in January. And Will was talking to me, and he says, Steve, we're just not that good. He says, I was like, I don't know. He said, we'll get in the tournament. We'll be like a whatever seed, like he was talking about like an 8 or a 9 or something like that. He says, I said, well. Now, at this point, Penn State had not made it in. It wasn't until later in the year they made it in. I said, I've done these games now for, at this point, 41 years. I said, I've done these games for 41 years at Penn State. I said, we've been in 4 NCAA tournaments. I said, don't take it for granted. He looked at me and goes, wow. So that gives me a lot of perspective, and that was the point I was trying to make. It's like don't down like where you are. It's like I can tell you it's hard to do. So now at least I'm up to broadcasting 5 of them because Penn State as a program has made 5 of them in the 43 years I've been doing it. It's hard, okay? And so when Jay Billis downs the bottom part of it, I don't think he understands that for a lot of programs, this is hard to do, and that's that fight at the end, do you get in? For those who are in that automatic realm all the time, we'll look at Louisville. I wonder how much Louisville appreciates it this year after some, 3 bad years. I wonder how much the Louisville, I'm telling you, they're going to go down to Lexington. They're going to take over that building.
Yep.
Auburn's playing a road game in round 2 if Louisville wins round 1.
I agree.
Okay? If Louisville wins round 1, and what's going to be a tough 8-9 game, and they play Auburn in round 2, Auburn's going to feel like they are playing a road game because you're talking about a fan base, A, as close as it can go. It's easy. But number 2, they're so hungry. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget doing the Orange Bowl when Penn State played Florida State. The game is in Miami.
Absolutely.
Okay? Or Miami Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Miami Lakes. It's Florida State. And Penn State had 60,000 fans there because Penn State had gone through a rough patch before that, and the fans were aching.
Absolutely.
Right. Louisville's in that same spot. I can see the Louisville fan base coming out, and if they win round 1, they've got Auburn in round 2, and guess what? Auburn's going to know that they're playing a road game. So he should not have downed. We spend too much time talking about the bottom. Sorry, but no. There's got to be an appreciation about. We all know that the top is where it's at. I'll never forget talking to Billy Packer about this. And I said, when you go to an NCAA tournament or you're getting ready for March, I said, what do you do during the year? He said, Steve, I concentrate on 20 to 25 teams. He said, I can't concentrate on more than that. He said, and that it makes sense.
Sure.
Right? It makes sense. We talk in generalities about teams across the country, but essentially I'm focused on 17 other teams. Used to be focused on 13 other teams, but now it's 17, right? As to what they're doing, because I spend 2.5 months consecutively just on those teams and where they are, the positioning, how they're playing, who they're playing, why they're playing, what they're playing, who's out, who's in. And so I understand that. And that's what he has to do what he had to do on a national basis. And I think Jay Billis is great at what he does. I think Jay Billis makes some of the greatest points that I hear when discussing thoughtfully sports. That was a throwaway that so, yeah. So, yeah. I'm not worried about the end. Well, guess what? There are a lot of people worried about the end. They're trying to get in.
Absolutely.
Okay? I mean, would you like to sit down right now with the West Virginia and UAB and Indiana teams and tell them I'm not worried about the back end of it? Really? Now, you are I think you had to be a little more in a rarity for him, because I think for him,
Smith does a great job. I agree.
Jay Billis does a great job, that was a throwaway line that was like, I don't know. So, to be honest with you, you have a lot of throwaway lines on this show.
Quite a few.
Too many. No, I try to.
Too many.
No, I try to bypass it.
That's right.
No, I can't. Like, what are we doing here? Oh, yeah. Mookie Betts has lost 15 pounds.
Good Lord.
15 pounds for a guy that.
For a guy that's small to begin with, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looked like couldn't afford to lose 15 pounds, and he's such a great player. Oh, God.
Incredible talent.
Oh, great! I mean, great baseball player, great bowler, right? And all the charity work he does, just like a great guy.
You can make the argument they've got 3 of the top 10 in baseball.
Yeah.
I think Freeman's in the conversation, absolutely.
But I'm just saying, I mean, that's...
But it's incredible.
Yeah. So... So there you go. Again, Nick the Greek over here is already... He's got Alabama State winning 3 rounds.
I have never in a bracket picked a 16 over a 1. It's happened twice, but I've never done it.
Wow.
I will say Purdue played with fire that year. I had a sneaky feeling they were going out early. Did I think they were going to lose to a 16 seed? No. But I suspected they would go out early that year. That I had right, but I didn't have them losing to a 16.
Really? All right. So there's that one in the books. Really one of your better shows. No?
Either get better or you get worse. Never stay the same. That's what a wise man once told us.
Oh, boy. Yeah. All right. Back tomorrow. We'll actually start talking about the games. And we'll break a few things down for you. It'll be pretty good. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely.